I had my CMV baby in November of 2018. We had no idea that he was sick, and we didn't find out until day 3 of life that he had CMV. He was born with high drops at only 2 pounds, 5 ounces. And then he was just a very, very sick baby. He was intubated, and he ended up passing away in January of 2019.
So I'd heard a little bit about CMV, but actually when I brought that test to the attention of the OB, she said, those are so rare, I don't know that we need to have that test.
So right away, the NICU knew what was going on. She presented very symptomatically with petechiae, and she had bruising all over, and her eyes were bloodshot. So we went in to see her later that night. It was the first time I saw her, and they again said, we think it's congenital cytomegalovirus.
And in the ultrasound, they didn't really tell me what was going on. They were just kind of looking over her brain real in detail. And then they called me about a week after that, and they said, we need to schedule another ultrasound because the ventricles in her brain were measuring too big.
Throughout the rest of the pregnancy, there were a couple of things that came up, especially towards the end of the pregnancy, because I did have repeated ultrasounds, but they were all kind of dismissed as being physiologic.
When I went to my follow-up doctor's appointment at 6 weeks, my pediatrician said, I went back and I looked in my medical books, and I guess I did hear about CMV in medical school, but just a very little bit, and I had never seen it before. And by that time, 6 weeks in, I had learned quite a lot about CMV, and my thought was, you've seen it a lot of times, and unfortunately, you don't know about it. And I wish that pediatricians did know about it.
Daisy is 8 years old, and she attends a mainstream school. She uses bilateral cochlear implants and participates very actively in her school. Her late identification of her hearing loss and then some other complications have led to a lot of speech problems. So Daisy goes early to school twice a week to go to speech, and then once a week goes to private speech lessons after school. Other than that, it's a pretty typical childhood now. Coming a long way from when we were going to therapies a lot more often.
My biggest challenge with Jackson, he's big. He's my big baby. To me, he's a regular baby. To me, he just can't talk and walk. So really, communication, of course, when he's hurting, you want to know what's wrong. You don't want to have to guess, so that's kind of hard.
So my daughter's developed very slowly. She's now 6 years old. She doesn't walk. She doesn't talk. She can't really hold up her own head. So we have all of the therapies. She has speech, she has feeding, she has OT, she has PT. She started kindergarten this year. It is not unusual for us to have 5 to 10 appointments every week that she goes to. But sounds cliche to say this, but she really is the light of our life. There's so much that can be learned from somebody who has so little to give, and she just is happy all the time.
Just be real with your patients. It's not your job to make them feel better about their pregnancy. Pregnancies are complicated, and nothing you can say to them is going to change that. And one of the complications is that there is this very common virus that's out there, and it can be devastating. And talk about, well, the guilt that women may feel if they don't, they take behavioral precautions and they don't kiss their toddlers on the mouth. Well, that's nothing in comparison to the guilt that you feel when your child is born with CMV and permanently severely disabled because you didn't know, nobody told you not to do those things. It pales in comparison.
Not knowing about CMV before I got pregnant or even during my pregnancy was really frustrating. When we did start learning about it, I remember just wondering how it is that it's so common and that it affects so many babies and women just aren't told about it. It just seems like there's almost work to keep women away from that knowledge, which doesn't make sense, and it doesn't seem respectful to women. They're not given this opportunity to protect their babies.
I would like for there to be acknowledgement given to the fact that universal precautions can help prevent and or significantly decrease the rates of transmission of congenital CMV. We could save babies so easily with an awareness campaign, and I'd really, really wish that everybody would get on board with that messaging.
A cure, a vaccine, obviously awareness. I think awareness is key to developing a vaccine, because I think it kind of all boils down to, is there enough money to fund the research to get the vaccine? And I think it starts with awareness.
Congenital CMV is the most common infectious cause of birth defects in the United States, and 91% of women don't know about it. Spread the word, not the virus. Ask your doctor about CMV and visit nationalcmv.org to learn more.